Yeah, I don't know. I saw a program on television once about this guy, and he said the golden rule of broadcasting is that you never wear a tight stripe or a herringbone check because you'll get all kinds of interference patterns on television. So that's like the golden rule: never wear anything like that. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Maybe I should just sort of hold the camera right up to my face, or perhaps looking up my nostrils. Okay, enough of that. Let's just get on with the video, which is going to be me laying into Geerup an atheist antidote, basically, over this DMCA thing. Because I've been thinking about this all weekend, and it's kind of wound me up a little bit more. The more I've thought about it, the more wound up I've got. So here's the position then. These are two characters, Geerup, Brock, who I've made video responses to in the past. I've followed their channels, I've listened to their shit, I've absorbed it all, I've responded to some of it. Now they've been DMCA'd. I don't appreciate them being DMCA'd. Why would anybody want to DMCA? The best thing, if you don't like these people, the best thing you can do is to leave their videos up, not get them taken down, for fuck's sake. I can't understand the mentality of anybody doing it on those grounds. But then I don't think it was done on those grounds, to be honest. I think it was done by the DMCA as a shit-stirring exercise. Whether the DMCA is an atheist or a theist, who knows? But I think it was done as a shit-stirring exercise, not because of the supreme quality of the material that was taken down. Just my understanding. I could be wrong on that, but that's how I look at it. I made a comment on Brock's original sneering challenge to atheists to help him out over this, to say, actually, Brock, you know, differences aside, I would be prepared to help you on this. Ever since I made that, I've been thinking about it, and the more I think about it, the more I actually think, fuck you, Brock, and fuck you, Geerup, I'm not going to help you. I wouldn't want to help you. Why would I want to help you? And this is why. First, the initial knee-jerk reaction is, I'm getting called out. We as the atheists on YouTube are getting called out here by these two boys. What they're saying is, you've helped atheists to be consistent, which we all want to be. You need to help us because we're Christians, you see. So if you'd help an atheist, if you'd help me if I was an atheist, then you should help me as a Christian. But this is the problem, and this is what set the alarm bells ringing. I thought, well, why am I offering to help him? I'm actually offering to help him to make myself look whiter than white, to show what a good boy I am, how nice I am, how even-handed I am. But I'm not actually being even-handed, because if these two guys are atheists, I wouldn't give them the time of day. You know, I wouldn't give them the steam off my piss, quite frankly. So why help them just because they're Christians? I'm doing it not because I feel they should be helped, but I'm doing it to make a point. And that's not a good grounds to help somebody on. If I'm going to be consistent, I shouldn't help them. I should just basically ignore them. That's not to say ignore the DMCA, because that's a separate issue. There is another reason why you might help somebody, and that's simply because however much you detest what they've done, you want to get at the DMCA. But I don't think mirroring their videos is going to... I don't think the DMCA in this case is going to give a shit. Because as I say, it's not because of the supreme quality of their message that the DMCA is trying to get it pushed to one side so that nobody else can be influenced by these magnificent videos. I don't think that's what's gone on here. So I don't think the DMCA is going to give a shit about anybody mirroring their videos. I don't think that's going to work. What I would say is there was a point where I maybe would have mirrored Brock's videos. The final straw with Brock was this Barack Obama thing, where he edited a Barack Obama speech to make him look like he was saying something else. Something you see quite a lot of in comedy settings, where it's quite obvious that people's lines are being edited to say very silly things, but he didn't do that. He just took two clips to make Barack Obama sound like he was saying that he was a Muslim when he hadn't said that at all. That was a cunt trick, Brock. Why did you do that? You fucking cunt for doing that. And then there's Geerup. All the way through this Venom Fang X DMCA saga, he backed Venom Fang X up to the hilt. And then what does Geerup do? Now, in the last couple of days, he makes a video explaining why he did it. Do you know what? Geerup, I'm close to billing you for my carpet, because the amount of puke that I spilt on this carpet listening to your nauseous video, you know, the whole thing's going to need replacing. And I don't think that your videos should be DMCA'd, but there's got to be some kind of legislation about how much bullshit any one person can store at any facility unbunded. And anybody who's downloaded your video must be exceeding that threshold, I'm quite sure. Neither of you are guys that I would want to back up. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. What I would like to do is deal with the DMCA, and that doesn't matter whether they've got a religious position or not. That's utterly irrelevant. And you know, there was lots of discussions going on the other week, wasn't there, about rape victims and are we responsible for our own behaviour? But what everybody agreed was that however responsible you are for your own behaviour, that doesn't take away any of the responsibility of the assailant for what they have done. And this is the same thing here. Whether I'm prepared to mirror somebody's videos or not doesn't affect how I feel about the tosspot who's done this DMCAing. It's a really nasty, anti-social, anti-free speech kind of thing to do. And when we find out who's done it, let's be honest, they're going to be absolutely ostracised. They're going to get their intellectual necks wrung on YouTube if we get to find out who did it. Nobody would ever, you know, stand up for somebody who'd done something like that, apart from Geerup, obviously, who in other circumstances would stand up for somebody who'd done that. But we'll let that one pass for now, shall we? This is my suggestion. Everybody comes up with a suggestion. This is mine. At the moment, somebody files a false DMCA with false details. You counterclaim, don't you, to try and get your videos back. But if you've got a legitimate channel, you don't want to give false details, even though, because if you did so, even if you won the claim, the fact you're giving false details might mean you lost your account. YouTube wouldn't be happy that you'd given false details. So people don't claim because they don't want this ne'er-do-well to get their details. So how about this then? You can file for a typical normal counterclaim for a false DMCA, but you can also file for a maliciously made DMCA. And if you file that a DMCA has been made against you maliciously, then YouTube handles it differently. You still have to supply your details, but they don't pass them on. What YouTube do is they investigate it first. They see if there's some legitimacy to the claim. They review the video. Is there some legitimacy to this claim? They check on the original claimant's details and check that they are legitimate contact details and that they're not made up. And only if these two things are substantiated, that it is a legitimate claim and that those details are legitimate details, would they then feel able to pass it into a normal counter false DMCA claim. This whole business of false DMCAs is something that YouTube need to tackle. Lots of people have ideas how they think they should tackle it. My personal view is that if you make a counterclaim, you ought to be able to make two kinds of counterclaim. One is a counterclaim where you are dealing with the substance of the claim. You accept that somebody is legitimately making a claim, but you're disputing it, in which case you give your details and then your details are passed on in the usual manner. This is what would happen if Time Warner issued a claim against one of your videos and you thought it was a faulty claim. But if you suspect that it's a maliciously made claim, you ought to be able to tick a box that says that you think this is a maliciously made claim. And even if you have to give your details at this point, YouTube does not pass your details on. YouTube investigates the claim first, sees whether there's any kind of veracity, any legitimacy to the claim, sees whether the original complainant is a legitimate complainant with verifiable personal details. If these two things have been substantiated, then it becomes a normal false DMCA counterclaim. Fair enough. But if those details aren't verified, and if the legitimacy, if it's obviously a made up and erroneous claim like most of these claims are, then the details are never passed on, because this is the problem. Geerup said it himself. He doesn't want to counterclaim because he doesn't want his personal details passed on to somebody who's just making up their details. Why would anybody want to put themselves into that position? How frustrating must that be when you know that some shit has given false details to make a claim, and you, because you've got a legitimate channel, are forced to give your legitimate details if you want to be able to back yourself up. That's a shit situation. It's situations that encourage vigilante action when they happen in society, and it's probably situations like that encourage cyber terrorism because people feel disempowered. They feel they cannot do anything about their predicament. The answer is that you ought to be able to file it as a malicious claim, thereby protecting your details. Your personal details are passed to YouTube. They have them there, but they investigate first. They don't pass your details on until it's been investigated. Perhaps they then have to come back to you and say, well, they think there is something in this claim. If you want to proceed with it, your details will be passed on. Maybe have that extra stage. That's how I think it should be handled. But as for me helping Atheist Antidote or Gear Up, it's not going to happen. There's another woman, Music God Video something or other. She seems okay. Feel very sorry for her. So my best wishes to her. Thank you for watching this rant.